All right, so this weekend was the debut weekend for Elden Ring Nightreign, and I was skeptical. I bought it because I'm a big FromSoft Elden Ring fan. I didn't buy the DLC. I was like, I want to try this first to make sure it's awesome. It is awesome. It's really, really fun. It's moreish. It's addictive in exactly the way that like Elden Ring is. FromSoft games are, where it's very challenging. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to notice. There's a lot to enjoy. And then you get stuck against some hard boss, and it's very, very frustrating. But then eventually you get there, you figure it out. Honestly, I'm really pleased with what FromSoft pulled off here. I would describe it off the top of my head, and this may turn people off, but just hear me out here. It is a chance to do multiplayer Elden Ring combat as much as you like semi-randomized. So it's really just like an Elden Ring combat trainer in general. And I would say that it draws from both Dota and Fortnite in positive ways. It's really, really interesting. I've been playing it. It is really addictive. It's like, I'm getting that old FromSoft feeling where it's like you keep losing, but like it's funny enough that when you're losing, it's still really, really interesting. And it becomes addictive because you always feel like you're so close and you've learned something this time. So next time you can do it for sure. I'm still stuck on level 1. I've gotten to the point where now, all right, if you haven't heard about Nightreign, it is a 3-player optimized game, and they do like random matchmaking mostly. And that is honestly, they've done a really good job with it because you don't even really need to communicate with your teammates that much. They have like a marker system, things like that, where I honestly haven't had too much trouble with the random matchmaking. I've enjoyed it. Now, sometimes you get 2 duds, you get 2 other guys who are just learning the game, but it's brand new, so we're all learning the game. So, have a little patience for that. And occasionally you get somebody who carries you quite a bit. This is really, really fascinating. So it drops you on like a round map. Again, it's kind of like Fortnite-y because there's just like points of interest all over this map, and you literally drop in. There's these points of interest, and the game rhythm is such. So there's a day where you can do whatever you want. And what you should do is you should go with your 2 buddies, whoever they are, and you should go and basically level as hard as you can, collect useful items and things as hard as you can. And then the reason I say it's like Fortnite is, first of all, because you drop in they use like spirit eagles in this, but it's basically a party bus that drops you in over the island. So the other thing that's really like Fortnite-y is there is like a ring of death where you can't be outside of it. But the way that they use it in Elden Ring Nightreign is pretty interesting. It's not an issue during the day. You're just exploring, doing whatever you think will be most efficient to grow your strength as fast as possible within your team. So yeah, the way that it uses the Fortnite like ring of death where, it kind of forces players together, it's actually really ingenious, I have to say. Normally what you should do strategically is all 3 players should be working together to clear objectives efficiently. But again, there's like random matchmaking. If you don't have a group of friends, sometimes people will just split off and do their own jungling, as if you're familiar with Dota, that's where you just run off and fight mobs environmentally with a plan that hopefully pays off. But the way that this works is that the ring, it'll alert you that night is coming, and then the ring suddenly, very rapidly contracts, and you'll see in some of this gameplay footage, it is very exciting because sometimes you'll be doing something even with your teammates, even if you're not alone. This ring of death will start just swooping over the landscape. The effect is very visual and I don't know, it feels very cool. I've run into a few situations where we're like running, grabbing loot, doing things we need to do, and just running at the edge of this storm that's coming. But so what it does is it contracts down to basically a tiny little arena about the size of a FromSoft boss arena, and then it just randomly hits you with one of these bosses. And you get 2 tests basically. You get 2 days, you get a day to, do whatever you want basically as a team to prepare. Then you get contracted down no matter what. It forces all 3 players into this arena, and then you fight this boss and you either die or you survive, and then you get a second day to do the same thing to prepare as much as possible. And then again, it contracts down, harder boss, and then from there you teleport to the final boss, which is very challenging. And then that's like a proper... the one criticism I would have is that, like, with most FromSoft games, I like to practice a boss by, running back to it and just playing it like 50 times. The problem, if you can call this a problem with Nightreign, is that every time you want to try one of these bosses, you have to do the 20 minutes of like 2 days and 2 nights successfully. And so that's kind of an issue. I've gotten to... The first boss is a 3-headed dog. It's like a Cerberus kind of thing with a sword weapon around its tail. It's very cool. But I haven't managed to beat that because I've only managed to get to it like 5 times, and I never had the team that would quite pull it off. That's the other thing. So FromSoft has made it very clear that right now everything is tuned for 3 competent FromSoft gaming players, and so if you don't have that, it can be a little frustrating. But I would say that it's all good frustration. This is again, I gotta say, it's very addictive. Every time I finish a run, even if it's not successful, I want to do more. There's unlockable characters. Okay, so there's like 8. Here's how it works. Here's what makes it roguelike. You might have heard that it's like roguelike. So what makes it roguelike is you have 6 characters to start, I want to say. You can actually unlock 2 additional characters pretty early on. And the way to do that is you just get a special item and then you kind of interact with that character in the round table hold. But so the thing that makes it roguelike is you're going to choose one of these ultimately 8 characters, and it's a pretty good spread. It's, you have like your DPS, your tank. I'm trying to think, there are healing classes kind of, but honestly I would say that there's not a class that's totally dedicated to healer. There's different kinds of DPS, like right out of the gate, there's a hunter type of, like ranger type of character called Iron Eye. That is very, very useful because you can kind of stand back from the combat and deal damage with infinite arrows, which is pretty nice. But so I would say that like the 8 classes are like various types of support, because there's a phantom. I forget exactly what she's called, but there's like a phantom that like can summon additional mobs that are really good for like distracting other enemies. There's straight DPS, there's some tanky characters. They all have ultimates, which is, they have like prime and sub ultimates, which is pretty interesting. Also kind of like Dota, where like occasionally when the time is right, you can hit like an attack or some kind of supporting ability that will turn the tide of battle. That's another interesting thing that I was confused by at first, but now I get it, is the way that they have a down system, which is also kind of like Fortnite, where like if you lose all your HP, then you're downed, and there's like a window for other players to resuscitate you. And the way that works is actually that you just attack them. And I was confused at first. I was like, why wouldn't they just make it a button or something, like to pick them up like in every other game where you recover your downed ally by recovering them instead of attacking them with your weapon. But the reason for that is because the nature of the FromSoft combat is like a lot of times you'll be like fighting with your sword, fighting the enemy, and while you're doing that, you're also like slashing your ally just to get them back on their feet. So I see why they did that. It honestly makes sense. A lot of people in the opening, in this opening weekend are complaining that the revive system is a little too punishing. It really, like, the game will do its best to keep your character down in a lot of ways, or to like rush towards counting them as officially dead. And it makes it pretty challenging to get people back up. I would say that, but that's FromSoft trying to be challenging. Every time that my team is wiped, it's because somebody's down, and the players who are still up like don't have a chance to attack significantly to get them back up. So I mean, I guess that's part of the game that's intentional. That said, FromSoft has already made a statement that they are gonna immediately like patch things. They're gonna fine-tune things to make it a little more playable. The matchmaking doesn't work exactly right. For example, I have one other friend who bought Nightreign, so he and I tried to team up, and the matchmaking completely failed to find us a third. It like completely froze. It couldn't match 2 players with a third player. Hopefully they're going to fix that because, again, so it's like the only way you can play is as a solo who gets 2 random teammates, which can be frustrating because sometimes you get a noob and a jackass or something like that. And if you have 2 players, you can't just get a third very easily right now. That's another interesting thing. So every single game has a session ID, and it seems to go up incrementally. So like as of this recording, and I'm sure it'll go up by the time this video is up, we're at like 400,000 games played or something like that. I might even be off by an order of magnitude. But I started playing when there was only 200,000 games played, and it's cool to see that uptick. It almost feels like you're making history when you play an early game and you get that early session ID number. But it is really, really interesting. I feel like I'm complaining about it, but I actually love it, and that's like a classic FromSoft game where, it's very frustrating, but it's also very, very addictive and rewarding when you do figure things out and figure it out. The thing that makes it roguelike, I'm going to circle back a million years, I don't think I even said this, is that you choose one of these 8 characters, and you're level 1, in the course of this game, temporarily, you're going to build this character up to like level 12, level 14 if you're lucky, level 8 by the end if you're not lucky, or, if you wipe out earlier than, level 5 or something. But you're building this character, you're getting new weapons every time, and the only thing, what makes it roguelite as opposed to roguelike, which roguelike means that like every game you start over from nothing. You do get a type of currency for every game played, and you get these things that are called scenes, and they're basically like gemstones that you can equip to your character. And once you get enough like really good appropriate scenes, appropriate little like power-up gemstones for your character, then you can start with a little bit of a boost. But every game you're starting from level 1, you're building your character, you're hoping that the items you get and the map layout that you get, the things that you can interact with and defeat, build your character sufficiently to beat this final boss on the end of Night 3. I would honestly say if you're like a FromSoft or like a Soulsborne player in general, what really makes this fun is that it is like a randomized, but learnable, because like it'll randomize things, but there are certain things that you can count on. Like the churches give you extra flask drinks. Like you start with 3, you can get it up to 4 or 7 healing flask drinks. What is it called? It's not an Estus flask because that's Dark Souls. But whatever, the healing jug, the chug jug, again, to make it a Fortnite thing. You can upgrade that at churches, for example. And then there's like these fortresses that have like siege trolls that like throw these pots of fire at you that can really wipe out your team. It's crazy. They're artillery trolls, so they can like target you from really far away and wipe you out with these explosives. That's a predictable thing. You can go in from the basement and work your way up and kill each troll, clear that area. So it's randomized, but it's also predictable. You'll see certain buildings and there's soldier camps where like you can predict. You'll be like, oh, that's a soldier fortification, a little fort. So that's gonna have a boss in there with some good loot and things like that. So you'll start to get the hang of it, and you'll be like, okay, you'll look at the map, and here's targets A, B, and C for the day before this first boss. And it's satisfying because you're like learning. And the main thing is that it is really like randomized Elden Ring combat. You'll be like, I just want an archer. And they'll be like, okay, you're a level 1 archer. See how far you can get, how much you can build up this archer and make him awesome. Or a mage, or a tanky warrior, or a rogue, or whatever, or a summoner. Every game is like a fresh and immediate. There's no like, it doesn't really let up. It's like as soon as you're on the island, you are doing Elden Ring combat the whole time, which is really, really great. And I would say that's probably what I find most addictive about it. The parts of Elden Ring where you're just killing bosses and getting good loot, it's just that nonstop and randomized, so it doesn't get old. And so I'm really enjoying it. I think it's like, I don't remember the exact price, but it's a little bit less than like your average full-length game would be. It's like $40 to $50, I want to say. And you don't need the original Elden Ring to play it, so it is like a standalone game. If you like multiplayer, like again, like anything like Dota where you can't pause, so like, just like Dota, it's like a solid 45 minutes to an hour, maybe half an hour if it's going poorly and you lose, or if you're doing really well and crushing through. But like you have to block out some time to play like one session with some other multiplayer guys that you get teamed up with, and the whole time, again, now that I think of it, Dota is kind of roguelike, honestly, in that way, because you start from level 1 and you build your character, and things are predictable enough that you know how to build your character, but then, it evolves into a unique situation that is very engaging and stimulating. And you do that. And okay, so I haven't gotten there yet, but once you beat the first boss, it unlocks a whole bunch of other bosses. And then once you've beaten like every boss, you beat the final boss, and then you've beaten the game. But it's all made in these instances, which again are kind of like a Dota Fortnite with set in the Elden Ring universe and with that engine. And so it's just really fascinating. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it even more than I thought I would. Like I said, I didn't buy the DLC or anything extra because I just wanted to try it. I wasn't sure I would even like it, but I did like it. I liked it a lot, and I'm playing it like crazy right now. It's my number 1 game. So if any of that sounds good, I would recommend picking this one up. And yeah, that's all I have for today. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Still trying to grow this channel, so I definitely appreciate it. Leave a comment if you have anything to add. Any tips? I'm honestly still so new that if you have any advice or any questions, as a fellow newbie, as we all are for this game, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for joining me.